Well, today I'll be showing you a very simple technique on how to transform your color images into black and white fine art. I've already done a video on this topic, but I will explain my method once again. I will be using Adobe Camera Raw, which is just the same as Lightroom. I will be also using Photoshop. Now please don't scare away by the word Photoshop. Believe me when I say this is a simple technique and anybody can do it. Just follow my steps and I'm sure you will achieve the same results that I have. If you lose track, just rewind back and then carry on editing until you nail it. I'm going to show you one of my images I just printed by using this simple technique. I've already hung it up on my wall and I'm very proud of this image. Before we start, let me show you the image we will be editing, which I took I think 2 weeks ago. It was a long exposure shot of around 2 minutes, and I hope you stick along with me to the end of the video. Now, are you ready to make a masterpiece of one of your images? Well, let's get into it. So I've opened up this image in Adobe Camera Raw. Like I said before, using Lightroom is just the same. I find this much easier. The first thing I'm gonna do is go to the crop tool. I'm not gonna crop it, I'm just gonna try and straighten it a bit. Just slightly. Should be okay. Go back. Now the first thing, or the second thing, I'm going to turn the profile to Adobe Landscape. That increases the colors, which is my goal when when transforming a color image to black and white. Always make sure that the colors, the vibrance, saturation are over exaggerated, and you will get a much better effect when turning it to black and white. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to play around with the exposure panel. Check your histogram. It's a bit to the left. It should be around in the middle. I'm going to reduce the highlights first, which will give me much more detail in the sky around here. I'm going to reduce it all the way. I'll try and increase the shadows. Increase it around 80. 70, 72. Okay, I'm gonna hold down the Alt key on Windows and increase the white slider until I see clippings. There we have the clippings. Gonna go back down a bit. Make sure we don't have any clipped highlights here. And I'm going to do the same for the blacks. Hold down the Alt key. And we have just the blacks showing here. Okay. Okay, no clippings. I'm going to increase slightly the contrast, not too much. Around 10. As you can see, we're over exaggerated with the colors. I'm going to reduce the exposure. Okay. And next, I'm going to go down to the calibration. I don't touch the vibrance slider or the saturation slider. I go down to the calibration tab and increase the blue primary. You can see how much it goes up the colors. Don't go to 100, it's too much. Just back it down slowly until you find that sweet spot. It's usually around 40, something like that. Okay, I'm sure you're saying it's over saturated, which it is. Don't worry about it. Now I'm gonna go down. I'll show you the colors. They're not, I haven't touched these, we don't need to since we use the calibration. I go down to the effects and give it a slight texture. Around 17, 18. A touch of clarity. And increase very slightly the dehaze. Around 9, something like that. We've clipped a bit of the blacks here. We can dial it up a bit until we see the black. Okay, next I'm gonna go down to the detail. They're already sharpened on 40. I reduce the radius all the way down and increase the detail slider to around 85, something like that. Now, another tip for you about the masking. If you hold down the Alt key and press the masking slider, you will see the image turn to black and white. I'm going to increase it until we have no noise in the sky and the sea. And there we have sharpened just the foreground and the mid-range, the buildings. Leave it like that. I'm going to go down to the optics panel. These are okay, it's already been ticked. Okay. Well, now from here, we're going to take it over to the dreaded Photoshop. Now we're over in Photoshop. Don't shy away from Photoshop, it's quite simple. First thing I do is duplicate the background. So if I make any mistakes, I still have the original copy here. Next, we're gonna turn it into black and white. I go down to this tab here. It's a half circle black and white. And go up to the black and white. Now here it opens it up and turned it into black and white. We already have these adjustments, they're already made, you can say. You can increase or decrease, just make sure you keep the number, remember the number, if you're going to decrease or increase, to go back if you don't like it. You can see it's affecting the reds. This is why I exaggerate in the colors, and you get much more detail in those precise colors, the reds, yellows, greens, and so on. I'll increase it just a bit. Don't over exaggerate. I'll try the yellows. It's affecting the top part of the foliage, which I like. Gonna try the greens. Remember, it's on 42. I'll leave it around 50. Try the cyans, which is on 60. cyans are affecting the water. Go back to 60, I'll see how it was, and increase it just a bit, around 84. Now I think I'll go up. I'm going to try around 90, 93. Now this is the blues. That's going to affect it quite a lot here. It's on 20. You can see. Don't go down all the way. You can see it gets really bad here. I'm going to put it around 28. Try the magenta. Same here, around 58. Okay, close this panel. Next, I'm going to go back down to this circle again, and I'm gonna click on the gradient map. Now here it's gonna get quite interesting. Now it's transformed it into a very dark contrasty image. Don't worry, click on this tab here where it says smooth on this drop down window and click on classic, and there you have it. If you want, click on the gradient here. It opens up another window. You can increase here the whites, or you can increase the blacks. You have to let go of the mouse to see the result. I'm going to leave it somewhat like this. I'm going to click OK. Just remember, not all images are the same, so you might need to adjust according to your own image. Click OK. And next, I'm going to flatten the image and go back over to Adobe Camera Raw. My computer's a bit slow. Okay, we're back here. I'm going to reduce the size a bit. Now here we're going to start the process of turning it into fine art. First, we're going to start with the masking. First thing I do here is start with a linear gradient over the sky. Hold it, pull it all the way down till you reach the buildings. And I'm going to reduce the exposure. Okay, I'm gonna do another linear gradient. It's gonna be above the first linear gradient we done, but not pull it down all the way, just on the top part of the sky. Gonna reduce the exposure again, like that. It's okay. I'm gonna go do another linear gradient for the foreground up till the middle. Reduce the exposure. And here we're going to do just one linear gradient. since it's already a bit dark here. Next, I'm going to use the radial gradient, and I'm going to put it over the buildings like that. First, I'm going to sharpen the buildings just a bit to around 25. I'm going to do another radial gradient, and here we're going to do a vignette. First, what I do, no, not a vignette, sorry. I'm going to increase the exposure over the buildings because we want the viewer to draw his eye to the brightest part. Not too much. Because a person's eye is always drawn to the brightest part of the image. And the main subject is the buildings here in the middle. I'm going to do another radial gradient, and here we'll be doing the vignette. Like this, till the edges. And here we're going to invert it and reduce the exposure. Somewhat like that. I'm going to go out of this panel and check my image. Seems okay. We have slight clipping here, but don't worry, because in black and white you're gonna have blacks clipped anyway. Now here I'm gonna go back to Photoshop for the last time and do the final adjustment using the curves. What I do is go to this small panel here and I choose linear contrast, and there we have it. If you want, you can increase so you don't have too much blacks. And it should be okay. I'm going to flatten the image. And there we have our final image of black and white fine art. One more thing in my image which I done previously, you can see here these are a bit blurry because it was quite windy that day, and even it was raining as well. I removed these by using the AI generative fill. It's quite helpful, and make sure to stay to the end to check the final image. Happy editing.